and welcome to the second part of building a recruitment system inside of Scriptcase. So this is a 3-part series, and we already did part 1, so if you haven't seen that, I'd encourage you to go back. But today we're going to be looking at the candidate and recruiter systems of this recruitment system. So we have those 2 links here on the login page here, so we're going to look at how we build those, and also the other applications with those. So let's go to our Scriptcase development environment here. And you see here we have our system and our security folders, and we set up all those applications in the last video. Now we're going to create the rest of our applications for all of our tables. So we go up here to batch applications, and here's all of our tables. And we've done all of our system and security ones, so we just need to select here the ones that we haven't done yet. So I'm just going through those and finding the ones that we haven't done, and I'm selecting them here. So these are some of the ones we've done, and you see there's both a grid and form application that we can create for each of these. So let me just find all of these here. Okay, and this one here, experiences, we don't need the grid for that, we just need a form. Now let's click next, and now we can name all these. We did this in the last video with this batch creation. And for the experiences here, so that's the one we only needed the form for. We're going to make that an editable grid view. So let's click finish on that, and it's going to create all those applications here. Okay, so here are all the applications. Now let's do some house cleaning and organize them into folders like we did with security and system. So I'm going to create a new folder here, and this is going to be for candidates. So let me type in the name of that. There we go. So there's our candidates folder. Let's create another one here. This is going to be for our recruiter side of this. That's going to be our contacts and companies. And then one last one, which we'll get to in the next video, but we'll go ahead and create the folder since we created the applications. This is going to be the jobs requisitions side of this. So this is where jobs can be posted and where candidates can apply to jobs. So we have all our folders now, so let's put our applications in those folders. So let's start with the candidates folder. So we can select those candidates applications, and we might move them around a little bit, but for now we can just kind of put them in there. Experiences will also go in there. So then we just need to click move down here at the bottom, and select the candidates folder, and move them there. So now the candidates applications are in there. Let's do jobs requisitions. That's the next one. So we need to choose these requisitions tables here. So it's just 4 of those. So let's go ahead and move those now. Select our folder and click move. And yes, we do want to move them. And then lastly, we just need to do recruiters now. So those are just those 4 there. Companies and contacts. There we go. So the contacts are going to be the recruiters, and the companies are going to be associated with those recruiters. So let's move those in there. And there we go. So now everything is organized, and we can start developing our candidate side of this. So let's click on the candidates folder here. And we're going to start with the application for that link we saw on the login page to create a new candidate. So we're going to choose this form for the candidate table here. We're going to copy that because we're going to create a special version for adding a candidate. So let's name that. And once we get it named here, we can click OK, and it will create our application. That's going to be a copy of that. So there it is. Let's go ahead and open this up so we can edit it. And let's go ahead and run this just to see what it looks like here. So this is just the default version of this form. So we've got all these different fields here. Let's go ahead and get them set up. So let's go to edit fields. There's all of our fields. Let's take some of these off. We don't need all of them. But if you see here, it's got the messaging, and we set that up in our data dictionary and our application languages areas. That was done in the last video, so you can go back and watch that to see how that's done. And let's go ahead and take some of these off. So we got all these fields, but we don't need all of them. So let me just grab some of these and take them off. Let's save that. And our user login is going to contain the system login for this candidate. And then we've got some other fields with the names and the addresses, as well as a resume. So we're going to put these in some blocks. So let's go over to Layout, Blocks. So there's our main block. Let's create another one here. And this one is going to be for the contact information. So name, phone, email, all that. And let's create another one here. And this one will be for the address, so we'll name it address. And then one more block for now. This one is going to be the resume, so they can upload a file for the resume. And then actually one last one, this is going to be for the login information. We'll add some more to that in a bit. Now let's turn the title on for some of these. We're going to have it display the titles for these. And let's adjust the labels for those titles and make them nice and capitalized. Make them look a little bit nicer. And that's all set. And for the address, we're going to put 2 columns in there. And that's going to split those fields up into 2 columns and make it a little bit more readable, make it flow a little bit better. So now let's go to Fields Positioning. And let's organize these fields into the different blocks that we set up. So first, let's put the contact information into the contact block here. So let me select those fields and get them down in there. We have to do it in 2 stages here. So we're just moving them down there, and then those are set up in place. Like so. Let's hit save on that. And now let's put the address fields in the address block. So that's the address, city, state, and zip. Let's put those down here in the address block. Like so. And then the resume field would go down into the resume block. And then lastly, the user login field would go down into the login block. So that'll split everything nicely up on the page, so that it flows a little bit better. Let's go ahead and run this and see what it looks like. Alright, so here it is, and it doesn't look quite right yet, but it's broken up into blocks as you can see. But some of these fields are really long, so we're going to go ahead and make them a little bit shorter on screen. That's the database length, but the on-screen length isn't always going to be that long. So let's go back here and let's go to Fields. And for each of these fields, I'm just going to take here, that's the field size in the database, but this is the amount of characters on screen. So we're going to make that a little bit shorter on screen for the address. Let's do the same for city here. And we'll have to do this on several applications, and I won't show it to you on all of these, but I'll show it to you here on this first one so that you can get an idea of how to do it. So we shortened some of those here. And it's looking a lot better here, but we still have some like email and name that are kind of long. So let's go ahead and adjust those next. So we'll go back here and we'll go to name, and we're going to shorten that the same way we did the others. And let's do the same for email. Save that. And let's check phone here. Let's go ahead and run this now. There we go. So that's looking a lot better, but these label columns here got a little bit messed up and they're a little bit too long, as you can see. So that's taking up a lot of the screen here. So let's go back here. Let's go to settings on this form. Let's go to table columns and choose provided instead of automatic, and leave the default 120 pixels. And there we go. That made it a little bit more narrow and cleaned things up a lot. So that looks a lot nicer now. And we've got those blocks and they open and close like that. So that kind of makes things a little bit more compact for our users. And then here's our login block. And we have our login right there, but we want to add a password option so that they can actually create a login when they create their candidate profile. So let's get set up with that now. Let's go back here. And we're going to create 2 new fields, one for our password and one to confirm our password. So choose two fields here and click Next. They're going to be text fields, but we don't want to create a new block for them. We'll put them inside the login block. Name the first one password and label it. And then this one is going to be confirm pass. There we go. And label it like so. So we can click create on those. And these are going to be password fields. So there's an option for us there to tell Scriptcase that it's a password field, so that will automatically redact it so that it doesn't show what the user types. Keep it nice and secure, so we do that for both of these password fields here. Let's just make sure that they're in the correct block. So we're going to go to field positioning here. And there they are in the login block automatically put there. So that's all set up. Let's go ahead and run this. We might need to adjust the length on these, so let's go ahead and scroll down here. And yeah, they're a little bit short for a password, so let's make them a little bit longer on screen. So for both of these, let's make them maybe 25 here. There we go. And we'll do the same for confirm pass. Let's save that. And that should make them a little bit longer. Let's go ahead and run that. Scroll down here, and there we go. So those are a little bit longer, more like you'd see with a password. So now we have those fields on screen. Now we need to write some code so that it'll actually save that to our security database tables when they save the database. First, we need to take those toolbar options off. So let's take the update and delete options off. This is only going to be an add form. So there we go. Now we only have the add new button. And there is our add new mode. So now let's go back to Scriptcase and let's start setting up the code for this. So we need to go to events here. So let's go here on the left menu to events. And let's go to the onValidate event first. So this gets called as soon as the user clicks submit and it's validating the fields and everything. So we can make sure that the login is correct. So here's some code I'm going to copy in here. And it's pretty simple. We're just getting the login field out of there and we're making sure it's protected. So we're using that login field right there. And we're making sure it's protected against SQL injection there. And we're doing the same thing with the password field and then the confirm password field as well. Then we're selecting from our user table a login. And we're seeing if that login already exists. So they can't choose a login that already exists. So if we found something in that query, we'll just output an error message saying try another login since it's already taken. If it doesn't exist, then we'll make sure the passwords are the same. And if they don't, we'll tell them that it doesn't match and to try again. Otherwise, if it generates no error messages, then it will keep processing. Otherwise, it'll stop. But if there's no errors, it'll go on to the onValidate success event here. So this is after everything was successful, there were no errors. We're doing kind of the same thing. We're starting out getting the login and the password out of those fields right there. But this time we're running a query to insert. So we're inserting into our user table the login, password, name, active, and group ID here. So we're using that login value, the password value, the name value that it's getting out of the candidate name field up there. And then yes, it's active, and then group 2 at the end. That means that it is a candidate. So group 2, that's how we set up our security system so that candidates are in group 2. It executes that query there. And then we have just one little bit of code we need to add in. This is on the on-after insert event. So let's go to that right there. So this is after it's been inserted, everything's been saved successfully. We just need to redirect to the login application here so that they can now log in. So now we need to force this form to be in an add mode all the time. So we're going to go to onApplicationInit. And we're telling it here using this macro to set this form, the start of this form, as a new mode. So it's always going to be adding, it's not going to be updating. So let's run this now. Okay, so now it forced it into an add mode. So now let's create an edit version of this form here. So going to copy it and name it like so. And this is going to be much like our add form, except it's going to allow them to edit their profile. So let's edit this form now. Let's set up our fields. We're not going to have quite the same fields here. We're going to take off the login fields, since those are already set up and they can control those in the security system. So we don't want to allow them to edit them here. So let's take off the login and then the password and confirm pass like so. Let's save that. And we don't need any of this code now since we don't have the login fields and we don't need it to start in a new mode. So we're just going to go ahead and get rid of all this code. So we select it all here and delete it. We don't need it anymore. So let me just go through all of these events here and get rid of all the code. There we go. So now let's save this. And we can build on all that work here, but let's go ahead and put those update buttons back on. So we don't need an insert since we're not going to be creating a new profile. We're just going to be editing. So there's our update button. Let's put that on. And we don't need a delete button. So let's go ahead and run this. Okay. So we can build on all the work we did with the add form. And it's pretty much the same. Just had to take some things off and put the update button on. But as you can see, this is editing all the different candidate profiles. We wanted to edit just the candidate profile for this ID. So we're going to modify our SQL query here and we're going to put a where on it. But to do that, we need to get that candidate ID first. So let's go over to our security application and we're going to add some code to save it immediately when they log in. So this is our login application. Let's go to onValidate. And this is where it gets the information out of the database on that user. And if it's successful here, it falls into this block and it saves all these variables. And we're going to add some logic to save a variable as well. So let me copy some code here. And this is going to work for both recruiter and for candidate here. So we have two if blocks here. So let me copy this code. Here we go. So the first one is we check the user group. That's a variable that is set. And if it is 1, it's going to be a recruiter. It's going to select from contacts then based on that login. That's the table for recruiter. It'll get the user ID, the username, and their company. And it'll set the global variable for that user company. And then if it's user group 2, which means it's a candidate, which is what we're doing for this one, it'll pull from the candidates table, run the query, get the user ID and the username there. Otherwise, it'll set some default values and then set the user ID as a global variable that can be accessed anywhere inside of Scriptcase. And we're going to do the same actually for username here. So let me duplicate that line here and let's copy that there. So now we have the username also set as a global variable. So let's go ahead and generate that code and it should work. We'll just leave that for now, that it's all generated. And that user ID is going to be the field we need in our edit SQL where. So that's our query, and we can select a subset here using the where. So we're going to say where the candidate ID, that's that candidate ID field, equals the user ID. So we put it in the square brackets there, and that makes it a Scriptcase global variable. So that'll pull it out of the variable that we saved, the login. So now we need to enter that user ID since it's expecting it, and we're not logged in at this point, so it doesn't have it. And there we have, it's just 1. We don't have navigation to go to multiple. So that's everything with adding and editing our candidate profiles. Now let's go back here and let's do just a little bit more. So we've got our forms. Now let's do our more administrative side of this. So let's start with our grid. Let's set those fields up. These aren't quite as complex because we're not messing with logins and all that. So those fields on screen there are pretty much set. And we have some other fields that we could put on, but I think that's good for now. We just need those fields. That should be good for that grid. Let's go ahead and run it and make sure we can see everything we need. So that's just a basic list of all of our candidates. So we can do a quick overview like that. Now let's work on this edit form. So that's your basic edit form, so not the add or the edit, but just the standard form there. So that's going to be the form TB candidates there. And let's go ahead and set up these fields. So again, these name fields and everything are a little bit too long. So I'm going to very quickly go through these and update them all. So those are all updated. I didn't want to show you everything there. Let's take the login off. We're not going to modify those there. And let's run this. So pretty basic form. We're going to leave this pretty basic. This is not an end user. This is more of an administrator type form. So it doesn't need to look quite as nice for us here. Okay, so that's our form for candidates and our grid as well. Now we need to set up the experiences form. So this is where the candidates can list all of their experiences, and this is the editable grid view. So it's going to look like a grid, but you can edit records right in the grid there. And we're just going to put a few of these fields on there, the start date and the end date. We can take the candidate ID off here in a second. So let's take that off, the company, and then the job position, and then also the summary. This company is actually going to be a select, so let's go ahead and edit that. Let's change it from an integer to a select. And we did some of this in the previous video. And this is going to be an automatic lookup that looks at the company table. This is populated from one of our system applications. So we just need to go to TB companies here. Let me find it here. There it is. And the company ID is a key and the company name is the value shown on screen. So save that. And then position is going to be select as well. And it's going to pull from the job positions table. So let's go ahead and create that select here. Choose our job positions table here. Let me find that. There it is. Position ID is the key and position description is shown on screen. So now let's run this, and those will be populated as drop downs. So there's our grid like that. So we could click edit on one of these records and edit any of these values here. So we're going to put this as a detail form on our add contact form here. So when they're adding their candidate profile here, they can add their experience. So let's click edit on this add candidate form here. So let's open that up. And we'll go down here on the left menu to master detail right here, new detail. And let's name it. So we'll do experience for this. Name it experience, and then the label will be experience. And it's going to create a new block here for this area. Now we just need to choose our experience form. There it is. And we need to link the field. So the candidate ID field is the one we're worried about. So the candidate ID is going to equal the candidate ID on the other field. And click next and then save on this and we can run it. So enter our user ID. And down here we have our experience grid. So we can add a new record or edit existing records if they were there. So now let's set up our recruitment system. So we've got our candidates set up. Let's go to our recruitments folder and get started on those. So we first need to set up a companies, an add company form. And that's going to be associated with our add contact form, which is going to be much like our add candidate. So let's copy our companies form here. And let's name it like so. Click OK on that. Let's go to add company. Let's get our fields set up here. So let's take some of these off maybe, and then let's make this industry ID a select. That's going to pull from our industry table. So just like we did on our previous forms and grids, we're going to choose a select. And that's going to pull from the TB industry table here. It's already got a base query, but let's make that a little bit nicer. So let's choose our industry table here. And the ID is a key and the description is the field shown on screen, just like we'd expect. And let's go ahead and run this. This is just going to be a basic form at this point, but there's our industry dropdown. Now let's make it so this form is always in an add mode, just like we did with our candidate add form. So we're going to go back to our Scriptcase development environment here, and we need to go to events. This is just going to be the same bit of code. So I'm going to copy that code in the on application init, paste it in place, and then we just need to change the application name to be the add company, and that'll force it into an add mode. And that's really the only code we need for this. But now let's organize this a little bit and put the address fields into a separate address block. So we'll go to blocks here under layout and create an address block here, just like we've done on the other forms. There's our address block. Let's go to fields positioning and put those address fields in there, like so. Let's hit save on that, and let's go ahead and run this. Okay, that looks not too bad. I accidentally put the name field in there. Let's move that out. So I take that and move it up here under the ID. And there we go. That looks a little bit better. So this doesn't need to be super nice just because it's a basic form. You could of course make this even more sophisticated if you wanted to, but that's good enough for our purposes. Now let's go to contacts and let's create an add contact. So this is going to be very, very similar to our add candidate form. In fact, all the code is still going to work just fine. So let's name it. And we need to set up the fields on this. The fields are going to be a little bit different than on the add candidate. So we've got our login field like we saw before. But we've got job position and company as well. So we want to make those select fields. So let's go ahead and edit our position field. And let's make that a select. And just like before, create our query from our job position table. And there's our query. Let's hit save on that. And we want to do the same for the company field as well. So that's going to link to our company table. And we're also going to put a link to our company application, our add company. That's why we created it here. So let's get our select set up first. That way they can select from existing companies. But perhaps this recruiter works for a new company as well. So we can go down here to create link. That's an edit link to edit the selection list. And we need to link it to our add company form right here. And there's no parameters since it's adding a new one. Click confirm. And we need to open this up in a modal. And let me set some dimensions here. 600 by 600 should be good. Let's hit save on that. And that way they can choose from an existing company or add a new one using our add company form. Let's go ahead and run this. So there is our add company with the edit link on it. So that's all set up with the add contact. We just need to add the code for the password fields. So we did that in the add candidate, so I'm not going to go over it too much. So here it is all set up and working with our login and our password fields. All the drop downs are working and we can click edit to add a new company. So that's everything for our new add candidate form. That's pretty much all set up and we can add that to our login application when we're ready for that. So let's go to grid contacts and let's copy that. We're actually going to create a detail form to put on our form for our companies. So we can view all the contacts for that. So we're going to copy it and name it grid contacts detail. There it is. Let's go ahead and edit that. This is going to be a very, very basic grid with just a few fields on it. So we're going to take most of these off. So I'm going to take the job off, the company ID off, since that's going to be already known. Leave the contact ID, name, phone, and email. Let's go ahead and run this and make sure it looks all right. There it is, and that looks pretty good. Let's edit the query now. So we need to limit it to just that one company. So we're going to go to SQL and edit the query here. We need that company ID right there where it equals a variable that's going to be passed in. We'll call it var company for now. So when we link it, that var company, we can pass through a value for that. Let's run that, and it's going to ask for that when we run it all by itself. So let's enter a company ID, and that way we have a shorter list that's just for our one company. Let's take our edit link off. We don't need that, we just need to view it. And we can take the detail off, so let's go to grid module and uncheck detail right there. Let's run this one last time and make sure it's all set up. Enter our company, and there it is, all nice and cleaned up. So now let's go back to our company's form like so, and we're going to add this as a detail form. But first, let's go ahead and edit our fields and make sure that this looks nice as well. Let's take industry ID off, we don't need that. Let's hit save on that. And let's go to layout and create some blocks. We're going to create an address block for our address fields. So name it address, just like we did before. Put the title on there so that it can be collapsed. Let's put 2 columns in there, make it look a little bit nicer. And let's go ahead and put those address fields inside of our address block. So address, country, city, state, zip, like so. Let's hit save on that, and then run it. There we go, so there's our address block, it looks nice and everything. Now let's go back and let's add our master detail form. So let's go to master detail, just like we did with experiences, it's very similar. We can create a new block, so let's name this contacts and label it contacts. It'll create a new block, click create, and link it to our contacts detail grid. So let me find that here. There it is. Let's select that and click next. And for that var company that we set up, we need to tell it it's a type of field and pass through the company ID field. So those will be all lined up like that. And we don't need to edit any settings here, but you could if you wanted to. Let's just hit save on that. And let's run this. So there it is, and we took some margins out, the heading off and everything. So that makes it look a little bit nicer on the page. So now we've got the contacts detail set up there, and we've got our company's form set up as well. Now let's set up our contacts grid. This is going to be another basic grid. This is going to show all of our contacts. And let's edit these fields here. Let's make job position a lookup here. And we need to go to lookup method and select automatic. This is going to be just like on the drop downs, except it's only going to be for the one value that's actually saved in the database. And let's do the same with company. Just like we did on the form for this. Lookup method automatic, and then create our select. There we go, that's all set up. Let's go ahead and run this and see what it looks like. There we go, there's our basic grid there with all of our information for all of our contacts. Now we need to organize this by company here. So we've got all these different companies, and it might be useful to limit it to whichever company we're interested in. So first we're going to go to refined search. This is going to be our first way of organizing it by company. And we're going to put company ID on the refined search. And then we're also going to put a sorting rule on this. So I'm going to do new rule, name it company, and the label can be company as well. Click create on that. And then we're just going to put the company ID on there. And that's going to be sorted by ascending. So that could be any field. So our refined search is there on the left. And if we go to sorting, we have our company rule right there. And we can click apply and it'll sort it like so. And then if we wanted to limit it further, so we just show contacts from one company, we can select one of those and it'll just show those. And then we can clear that and select another company if we want it. So that makes it a little bit easier to the end user to limit those contacts down to find the ones you want. So now we built our recruitment system and our candidate system. Now let's add these items to our menu. So let's go and edit our menu. We've got our system and security menus already set up. We're going to put another option right before that. So I added a new option with the addition symbol. Let's move it up there and let's name this one candidates. And that one is just going to be a parent menu item. Now let's add some children to it. We're going to name this one list candidates. It's just going to be our grid of all of our candidates. So let's find that and let's link it together there. There's our grid TB candidates. And let's add another one. This is going to be edit my profile. So this is going to edit the candidate profile where the current candidate logged in. Let's find our candidate edit form right there. And click import for that. Let's save that. So that's our candidates menu. Now let's add our recruiters menu. So this one is going to be companies. We're going to call that companies, since it has both companies and the recruiters associated with those companies. First one is going to list all of our companies. That's using that grid that we set up. And let's link that to our grid. There it is. Click import on that. And then one more menu item to list all of our recruiters. So this is going to be our recruiters grid. That will be linked to our recruiters grid there. That'll also allow us to edit those recruiters as well. So that's going to be grid TB contacts there. And then that's set up. So that's everything with our menu. Let's go ahead and save that. And then we're going to run our login application after we generate the code here for menu. Let's go ahead and run our login application here. And this is not our final product for the login application. We'll change the look and feel a little bit, but it's functional for now. Let's log in. And there are our menu items for candidates and companies, just like we'd expect. All of the items under them. So we click one of them, it'll open them up there in the form, like so. And that's pretty much everything for setting up our recruiter system and our candidate system. So that's part 2 of this video. And in part 3, we'll finish it up. We'll add our requisitions and jobs side of this, and then finalize some details of look and feel, put some paint on chrome on it, and make it look really nice. So I hope you stick with us and join us for the next video. And I'll see you then.